Your tissue's internal friction dictates how you think right now. It isn't just chemicals talking in your cells, the actual structural density of the connective matrix, that invisible scaffolding holding everything together, is acting as a signal filter for consciousness itself. Think of it like trying to run data through mud versus running it through crystal clear oil. The physical texture dictates the informational coherence, and that's where we are moving beyond simple mechanotransduction. We find that subtle shifts in the viscoelastic state can alter systemic resonance long before any traditional biomarker changes appear. This is about decoding selfhood not just from gene expression, but from biological topography, a language of cellular architecture dictating your entire system's stability. Think about your body not as a machine, but as an incredibly intricate gel. Everything we thought was purely chemical signaling has deep roots in physics. The stiffness and texture of that internal matrix determines how information flows. This physical reality is what scientists call ECM mechanotransduction. It's how cells are constantly reading the environment around them through tiny receptors called integrins. Imagine a fine-tuned radio receiver. If the air itself, the extracellular fluid viscosity, is distorted, no matter how good your antenna is, you won't get a clear signal. These biophysical gradients aren't just background noise, they dictate systemic coherence and even subtle shifts in cognitive function. What if the subtle way your body is built isn't just structure, but information itself? We used to think of consciousness as something purely electrical, a spark in the brain. But what this research shows suggests that everything matters, the very texture of the connective tissue surrounding every cell. Think of it like how different soil types support wildly different kinds of plants. Your extracellular matrix supports your systemic state. When these biophysical gradients are balanced, we see holistic harmony at work. The ECM acts as a physical regulator for internal messaging, which means something nobody expected for predictive health modeling. The feel of the tissue might tell us about future function before any lab test could catch it. It's not just what happens in your brain or even what's happening in your bloodstream. The physical scaffolding itself is communicating information. Think of it like the difference between a firm concrete foundation and loose desert sand. One supports complex structures beautifully, the other collapses under subtle stress. We are finding that tiny changes in tissue texture, that viscoelastic signature, actually dictates cellular signaling capacity at a systemic level. This isn't just local biology anymore. This is about holistic harmony. Some researchers insist we overstate these mechanical links entirely, but what if they were right? The matrix might be the ultimate input device for selfhood, and knowing its language changes everything that comes next. Imagine your body isn't just a biological machine. Imagine it's an information conductor. We used to think signals flowed purely from neuron to synapse, but what if the physical texture of everything surrounding those cells actually shapes how thoughts are processed? Like sound traveling through air versus dense gelatin, the medium changes the signal entirely. This is where we find systemic resonance. The viscoelastic state, or simply the stiffness and flow characteristics of your tissue matrix, acts as a structural language that tells your internal systems what to do. Integrins sense this texture, translating physical stress into chemical commands inside the cell itself. They are receiving instructions from the environment. But how those signals translate all the way up to consciousness is where everything changes. We've been told consciousness lives exclusively in electrical signals inside our heads. But what if the fundamental hardware of self, the architecture that allows us to think, feel, exist, is built from texture? Like a massive, intricate gel. The way these microscopic structural matrices vibrate, stretch, and organize isn't just background noise, it's dictating your state. We call this ECM mechanotransduction modulation now. Think of the body not as a machine with switches, but as an instrument played by its own physical environment. If we can read that texture map, that viscoelastic signature, we might be able to predict who you are before you even know it yourself. But if everything is vibrating in concert, what exactly does coherence mean? Stop thinking of your body as just a collection of machines. Think of it as an incredibly intricate piece of wet clay. Its fundamental state, its texture, its subtle internal resonance is actually information itself. The viscosity and stiffness of the material surrounding every cell dictates how well that cell can communicate, influencing everything from mood to cognition. You don't need another diagnostic test, you might just need a textural assessment. Pay attention to where your system feels rigid versus fluid. That difference is telling you about its architecture of selfhood right now. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com. It turns out we aren't just biological machines running code. We are systems tuned by a fundamental medium. Think of your body like an orchestra housed inside gel. The subtle texture and viscosity of that supporting matrix dictates how every instrument, every cell signal resonates together. It shows us the physical environment is not passive filler but active informational substrate. The actionable insight here isn't just finding pathology, it's learning to sense systemic harmony before imbalance even registers as sickness. We are transitioning from reactive diagnosis to predictive state awareness based on the very architecture of our being. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com.